Jumpin In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. And you're right, jazz lovers, it is that time again, 9 o'clock on a Saturday night here on Manx Radio, and probably other parts of the Isle of Man as well, which can only mean one thing: it is the best in modern and contemporary jazz with Jumpin In with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along to this week's show. And with a further week of school holidays to go, hopefully the kids have exhausted the Easter egg mountain and the sugar levels have returned to a manageable level. Either that or they ate them all in one go and have been sleeping it off ever since. Still, at least the weather's perked up, or do I mean shown some attitude. Just when you thought it was safe to break out the sandals and the shorts as you left the house, by the time you came home you needed a sou'wester and snowshoes. So, H, what's blown you away this week and what's been a washout? Or are you simply enjoying some cool new sounds as you try to light a damp Barbie?
Newies and oldies, something new standards in fact from Terri Lynn, new 4 from Bill Frisell, and something older from Shakti.
And from me, well, we're a bit flash. We remember someone else's Christmas, and to start, Elegant People, given the symphonic treatment by Yuri Hoenig and the Vince Mendoza and the Metropole Orchestra. elegant people there. Weather report, of course, and penned by the late, great Wayne Shorter. Not that many people prepared to take on Weather Report tunes, but no problem at all for saxman Yuri Hoenig and the Metropole Orchestra, and of course the fantastic arrangements and directing of Vince Mendoza. Vince actually has a new recording out, which no doubt we'll bring you in the near future, but I was looking into that, and I discovered this 2006 release, Symphonic, that had completely passed me by, and we heard a great trumpet solo there from Ruud Bruels as well.
Marvellous stuff, great way to get going. Bill Frisell is no slouch when it comes to bringing out new releases either. He's got a new one out on the Blue Note label. He's been with various labels, Nonsuch and ECM, of course, and now with Blue Note. He might seem a strange fit with Blue Note, Bill, but there he is in any case. A new one just called Four, featuring Gregory Tardy, Jonathan Blake and Gerald Clayton. And from it, we're going to hear Look Out for Hope. great classic Bill Frisell type ending there with the looped guitar and wonderful bowed, scraped cymbals. Lovely stuff. A slow burner, as we'd call it, that one. I must admit, I whacked it on the first time on the CD player and I thought, okay, don't know. And then the more I've listened to it, the more I've enjoyed it, with some real lovely sort of harmonising, some really great electronics, some nice lush sounds in places. The sort of stuff you do need to listen to again, as we quite often say on this programme. Don't think you'd appreciate if you whacked it on the car as you're bowling down the motorway or going to work necessarily, but stick it on your stereo at home with a nice glass of something and actually listen to it overnight, and you'll get far more from it. As far as I'm aware, it's his latest, certainly to the best of my knowledge, but he's prolific, is Bill. Doesn't slow down with age, it has to be said, and touring as well. I think appearing at several festivals coming up this summer around the UK and indeed around Europe. Bill, as per, on electric guitar, also baritone and acoustic on this album. Gregory Tardy, tenor sax, clarinet and bass clarinet, I think we heard him featured on there. Gerald Clayton on piano, and the wonderful Jonathan Blake, who's got some cracking albums out there, much more bebop orientated on the drums. And as I say, it's on the Blue Note label. I do find that a strange sit for Bill Frisell, but who knows? As long as he's happy and producing good music, I'm not grumbling.
Well, next for me, guitarist who perhaps is more in a Blue Note vein, although not on Blue Note himself either, Chicago-based guitarist Tim Fitzgerald, who for the last 7 years has led an ensemble called Full House, featuring some of the best players in town, and has dedicated itself to interpreting and building upon the repertoire of the legendary guitarist Wes Montgomery. In fact, the name of the band, Full House, is the title of a great live album from Wes. Here's Tim and his band swinging through the changes on a classic Montgomery composition, SOS. SOS giving a boppish work over there by guitarist Tim Fitzgerald and his band Full House, and what a great band they are too. Victor Garcia on trumpet, Greg Ward on alto, Chris Madsen on the tenor, and a rock-steady rhythm section with Tom Vaetsis on piano, Christian Dillingham on the bass, and driving along George Fludus, and of course the leader Tim Fitzgerald leading from the front. You can tell that they've been together for some time. I mean, 7 years is quite a while, as the band's a really tight unit, and each one of the band is, of course, a band leader in his own right, and between them they've got at least a handful of Grammy nominations, so you can tell that one thing is they're all enjoying themselves, and if you find yourself lucky enough to be in the Chicago area, perhaps you'll be able to catch them live. Tim hopefully will introduce the music of Wes Montgomery to plenty of new ears. And thanks very much to Lisa Reedy Promotions for selling us that on the Cellar Live label. And Cellar Live actually putting out some great straight ahead jazz at the moment.
Cracking stuff, really good. From a handful of Grammys to a handful of beauty. Shakti. Hard to believe that they've been together 50 years. And I didn't know whether we were going to see them again, but they have announced they're doing a 50th anniversary tour. They're bringing out a new album, I think In the Moment, if memory serves correct. Doing a tour of the US, their first tour in about 17, 18 years across the States and in Britain as well. And we are discussing as we speak to see if we can get down there. Typically, it's the middle of the week. It doesn't make it easy if you live in the Isle of Man, does it? However, it might be the last chance, I dare say, bearing in mind that John McLaughlin is closer to 80 than he is to 70. It might be the last time that you will see the band playing in the UK. I don't know.
He's 81.
81, there we go. Yeah, so being realistic, and I know he said he was stopping touring a while back and still doing little bits and pieces, so it might be your last chance. In any case, I thought we'd go back to much earlier days, 1976, would you believe, from a handful of beauty, La Danse du Bonheur. still sounds good, I reckon. Really, still fresh, really exciting. I still really enjoy listening to that. 1976, the original lineup, I think, of Shakti from the album Handful of Beauty, with John McLaughlin guitar, of course, El Shankar on violin, Zakir Hussain still with them on tabla. How on earth he keeps his hands going at the speed he does, and he still plays just as fast when he gets going, amazing. And the original Viku T.H. Vinayakram on Gatam, and also Mridangam as well. The band has changed a little bit. I can never pronounce that second one as well before anyone says anything. The band has changed a little bit over the years, as you might well imagine, partly because some people aren't around again, so Viku, I think, is no longer with us. So today's Shakti still features John McLaughlin on guitar, still features Zakir Hussain on tabla, but also now has the one of India's most famous musical stars, Shankar Mahadevan, on vocals, and the violinist Ganesh Rajagopalan. And also on percussion, so on the Gatam and others as well, there's Selva Ganesh Vinayakram, who is indeed the son of the original Shakti player, Viku T.H. Vinayakram as well. I haven't heard their new album yet, looking forward to hearing that, and like I said, if we can stretch the piggy bank to go down and see them, we most certainly will, on the basis, as you say, with John being 81, and Zakir he's not 81, but he's certainly past his first flush of youth, so who knows. But in any case, it'd be a fantastic chance to see them. I think they're playing several dates in the States, I should say, and 2 dates at the Hammersmith Apollo, which I think are on the 27th and 28th of June this year.
Yes, and interestingly, I was talking with one of the specialists at the hospital over here who was given tabla lessons by Zakir Hussain when he was a child, and El Shankar was also a close friend of his parents.
Yeah, you see, small world.
It is a small world indeed.
World,
and more by coincidence and design, another guitarist from me, as it happens, but it's been a while since we've heard any new Polish jazz on the show, and there is none finer than guitarist Marek Nipiakowski. With his latest release, String Theory, he composed a suite for guitar, trio, and full string orchestra. Here's Zazie. Fantastic. The great sound of Marek Napiakowski and his trio, bassist Max Mucha. Great name for a bassist, Max Mucha.
Max Mucha.
Max Mucha.
Isn't he?
And drummer Mikael Brindal and the Orkso Orchestra Camerania Meister Taiki. When asked about his inspiration for the suite, Marek said, "This is the fulfillment of my musical dream, the desire to create music that combines the world of jazz improvisation with the beautiful sound of string instruments. Thinking about the project from the beginning, I wanted to create music in which the string orchestra is not an element added to our jazz frolics, but is an equal partner both conceptually and sonorically." And many thanks to Google Translate for that, which hopefully captures the spirit of his intention. String Theo came out last year and is on the Agora label. I like that very much indeed.
Something to do with bass players. There's so many great
bass names.
There was a bass player, used to be Blakey, I think, in the early days, who revelled in the name of Virgil Scroggins, which I thought was a wonderful name as well. You are, of course, listening to Jumpin' In, the best in modern and contemporary jazz with Chris and myself, H. Any thoughts, of course, if you ever want to get in contact, do so. Always like to hear any ideas, thoughts, anything, bands you'd like to hear, an artist you're particularly fond of, jazz birthdays, something you'd like celebrated, an idea of a country you might like as one of our country specials. Howard Kane at manxradio.com, Chris Kane at manxradio.com. Just put the E on Kane, C-A-I-N-E, and we'd be delighted to hear from you. Terri Lynn Carrington, wonderful drummer, no slouch. She played with, well, you name it basically. She's played with pretty much everyone from Herbie Hancock onwards, upwards, downwards, sideways and every other direction, as well as bringing out some fine albums under her own name. Her latest is called New Standards, Volume 1. So she's rather optimistic, presumably, that Volume 2 is going to come along as well. And when you've got a band which consists of Chris Davis, Linda Mayhanno, Nicholas Payton and Matthew Stevens, you probably will do. From it, let's hear Uplifted Heart.
The uplifted heart stays lifted with faith greater than fear. Forgotten and suffering, or perhaps the chosen ones, tuned into something deeper, remaining resourceful and replenished, while keenly aware of the greatest attributes of the human spirit, survival being synonymous with joyful living. No one can remove the joy from the uplifted heart, and yet no one should have to be so resilient.
Hi, this is Maria Schneider, and you're listening to Jumpin' In with H and Chris on Manx Radio.
Oh, yes. Very nice stuff indeed. A little bit of the Rebirth Jazz Collective there. Rebirth Collective from that album Witchcraft, and that was indeed Witchcraft. We're just talking about Belgian jazz, brew jazz. We rapidly coming up on the rails, and that is indeed as a Belgian-based band we heard there a year or two back. And before that, it was indeed the latest from Terri Lynn Carrington, New Standards Volume 1. I've been enjoying it. A few too many vocals for my taste, but I'm a bit biased that way. I don't know whether they always work, but certainly interesting, a good selection, some great playing and fine players, and tempting enough. Certainly I'll listen to it more and would probably be tempted for Volume 2. It's on Candid.
And it's the kind of thing you'd definitely go to if you got the opportunity to see it live. Well, that's about it for this week's show. But before we go, I'm sure many of you were saddened as we were to hear of the death, aged 71, of Japanese composer, record producer and actor who pursued a diverse range of styles as a solo artist and, of course, a founder of the Yellow Magic Orchestra. I'm talking about Ryuichi Sakamoto. Perhaps best known as a film composer, here he is with the composition that won him an Oscar, a BAFTA, a Grammy and 2 Golden Globes. In this instance, from his 2009 album Playing the Piano, here he is with that composition. Merry Christmas, Mr Laurence. See you next week.
Be good.